Hey guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we are doing the yearly Readflection tag. Is that what it's called? Yes, I got it right! So this is a tag that was wonderfully created by my friend Rachel. You guys should go and check out her channel. I will have it linked down below along with her original tag video for this. And she's essentially made this to bridge the gap between the end of the year book tag and the actual end of the year. Because the end of the year book tag is not an end of the year book tag. It is about the books that you want to get to in the end of the year. And so Rachel has created this tag to talk about the things that you want the end of the year book tag to do. An actual book tag for the end of the year and looking back and reflecting on the year. And I love these questions. They're so cool. They're so interesting, and I've had a lot of fun looking back through my stats and my reading and stuff in order to answer these questions. And I am now excited to share it with you guys. If you guys like the sound of this video and you want to stick around and see more, do feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. You guys can also check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter, so you can get more up to date what I'm reading and how I'm reviewing it, etc, etc. And with that, let's get into the tag questions because I am really excited to share these with you guys. So the first question is pretty much a staple for an end of the year book tag, and that is, what are some standout books of the year? I have honestly had a good reading year. It's felt very mixed. I put a bit too much pressure on myself to read a lot, and we'll get into that a bit later in the tag. But the books that I have read and loved this year, I've really loved and will be like my favourites for a very long time to come. And those are Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Crescent City by Sarah J Maas, and Olive by Emma Gannon. And I love them all for different reasons. Malibu Rising just felt like nothing else I had ever read before. It completely blew me away, and I left that book thinking there is nothing else like this on the planet. Crescent City is an urban fantasy romance, very Sarah J Maas vibes, follows the Fae. It's fairy porn again, basically. What I loved about this book is that it really made me feel like I was 14 years old, fangirling in my room over fictional characters again, and a book hasn't made me feel like that in so long. And this book just transported me right back to one of the most enjoyable times of reading I've ever had. So it's a standout just for that. And then Olive by Emma Gannon has just really changed my mindset on aging and being in my 20s and entering my 30s. I'm nowhere near entering my 30s, but it's just changed my mindset on being a young adult, and I'm really grateful that it did. I think I read it at the right time for me, and I really loved it. I really recommend that everybody read Olive by Emma Gannon. It felt so much like a feature piece in a magazine or a newspaper. It had a very journalistic style to it, and I really appreciated that. I felt like I genuinely learned a lot of facts from it, as well as it having a fictional element. Loved that book. We then have, which books do you wish you hadn't wasted time reading? Obviously we have the Crazy Rich Asians series. God, why did I get myself to read all three? I hated them. They were so boring. I love character-driven books. I love books about champagne problems. I really like those type of books. But this didn't do it for me. The books have to have a little bit more substance than just, here's some rich people who hate the poor girl, but the poor girl is actually gonna become rich and then spend every waking minute shopping with them. The whole 3 books was just them shopping. The first book had a little bit of substance but needed some serious editing, and the second 2 just should never have been published. It was a giant waste of my time. And then another book that I really wish I hadn't wasted my time on was The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I know so many people love this book. I know it's like a staple of young adult fantasy, but I just found it really confusing. I couldn't wrap my head around what was going on. I didn't understand the magic system at all, nor did I find any way to relate to the main character, and I just really struggled with it. But I just couldn't get into this one, and I think the fact that it is such a beloved book in the book community just made it all that much more of a letdown. I had originally put that on an anti-TBR and said I would never read it because why would I need to? And I was right to put it on that list. I really shouldn't have read it. I would have been that much happier not having read it. Then we have the books that surprised me the most. So the first book that surprised me a lot this year actually is The Wizard of Oz. I, to be honest, didn't actually know that this was a classic children's book until I received the book for Christmas last year. I really thought that it was just the movie. But this is a really short and adorable children's classic and has become such a huge comfort read for me. I feel like I just dip into it all the time when I'm feeling a little bit down. I have it there when, like, for the future. I just was really not expecting to love this book as much as I did. It's also very different from the movie. You can see where the movie got its ideas from and like little lines in the book that like prompted those ideas, and that's really cool to see. But they did diverge from the plot line in the movie, which I actually kind of like that they did that, because now going back and reading the book, there is a bit more to it. There's a difference, there's a point to reading it now, and I love that book so much. It is so cute and really cozy. And then the other book that really blew me away and surprised me was The Gilded Ones. I picked this up thinking it would just be kind of a regular middle of the road YA fantasy. I didn't think that there was going to be anything much to it. I knew that I would probably enjoy it, but did I think that I would want to continue with the series or like really think that it was anything that special? No, I really didn't think that. I just thought that it would be a book that I would pick up and enjoy reading. It's a YA fantasy, what could go wrong? But I ended up giving this book 5 stars and being genuinely like surprised by it. I want to continue with the rest of the series. I can't believe how good it was. It's set in a very patriarchal society where at a certain age girls have to go through this type of reaping where they go into the church and their skin is cut, and if they bleed red then they are deemed pure and they can go into society and get married, be subservient to men. And our main character is always viewed as an outsider because her father married someone from outside of the village who had a darker skin tone, and so our main character is always seen and treated as an outsider and thought to be impure anyway. And then when she goes for her reaping type event, they cut her and her skin is gold, and that leads her on this whole adventure of self-discovery, discovering that she has powers and that the fact that she has gold blood is not actually as bad of a thing as the church and her very small town village would have her believe, and also discovering about her heritage and where she actually comes from. It was such a good book, and I really loved this discussion of patriarchy and how women band together and are affected by the patriarchy, and this battle of will women turn on each other or will they stick together. It's all kind of theorized and discussed in this book, and it was so complex for a YA novel. I was just really surprised by it. I loved this book. Then we have books that you wish that you'd gotten to but you didn't have time. I actually have a whole video that I filmed literally just before I filmed this one. I'm in the same outfit. It went up a couple days ago if you guys want to go and check out, and that is a whole video on the books that I wish that I had read in 2021 but didn't get to. But there is one book that I missed out of that video and another one that I'm just going to re-talk about because I want to, basically. So the first book that I really wish that I had gotten to this year is Outlander. This was a gift from a friend back in August, I think it was. It was when I had COVID and I was isolating, and I just haven't finished it yet. It wasn't the type of book that I wanted to read, particularly in August. I read it because I had nothing else to read, and it was enjoyable when I started reading it. But then I got out of isolation and there were other books and other things bogging me down, and I kind of always said that I'll just pick it up and I'll read a couple of chapters every now and again and move through it slowly and enjoyably, but that just hasn't happened, and I really regret not getting to this book sooner because I A, feel guilty that it was a gift, feel like it's been the perfect weather and time to read it, and I just haven't found the time. So I think there's gonna have to be like a whole month where the only book on my TBR is Outlander so I can finally get through it. Again, it's in my reading journal as a series that I need to finish, so hopefully I will get to it. Do I think that I will read every single Outlander book in a year? No, I don't. This is probably going to take me like 3 years at least, if they're all this big. But that is a book that I'm really sad that I didn't get to finish because I really wanted to, and I feel really guilty. And then another book is a book that I did talk about in that video, and that is Gideon the Ninth. So badly want to read this book. It's about necromancy and death and swords, as if it was written for me. It's everything I'm interested in, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. Every time I went to buy it, the bookstores didn't have it, or they said that it was like the delivery was slow and it hadn't come in, and I just didn't buy it online. I'm not a huge book buyer online. I really do like to go into stores and like browse and try, and it's like fun to find the books that you're looking for in the store. I'm really sad that I didn't get to that one either, because that would have been perfect for my October TBR. What was your biggest bookish accomplishment? Honestly, I kind of struggled with this one. I couldn't think of many reading specific accomplishments. So I ended up going with the fact that I read 32,796 pages this year, which I've obviously just taken from my Goodreads wrap up. So that is such a high number, and you really don't realise as you're reading that the pages add up that quickly. But I saw that number and I was like, oh my god, that is such a high number of pages to read in a year. And also another big accomplishment was that I actually read and finished Priory of the Orange Tree, which is an 848 page book. Did I like it? No. Was it potentially a waste of my time? Yes. But have I read that big, massive book? I have indeed. What are some of your top bookish moments? A highlight for me is that I managed to read 18 books in 21 hours back in June. That's the most I've ever read in such a small period of time. I was really proud of myself for doing that. And then another thing that I'm quite proud of reading wise is that when I graduated and started this job, I didn't really feel like reading, and I didn't read anything for ages. I was so tired just adjusting to this new lifestyle. No one tells you what a big lifestyle change it is when you start working full-time after uni. And I really just gave myself the time to adjust to that, and I didn't put any pressure on myself to read, and then it just kind of slowly came back, and now I'm finding little places in my day where I can read. And I'm A, really proud of myself for giving myself that time, and then B, really proud of myself for finding time in my day to fit it back in. So that is a big win for me. I'm really happy with myself for doing that. What's a piece of bookish content you've been super proud of? My 21 books in 21 hours video from my 21st birthday. I had honestly been thinking of doing that video since the year before, like since I started my channel and started doing 24-hour challenges. I planned what books I was going to read and need to buy like 6 months in advance so I could buy them slowly and make sure that I had the money to do that video. And then obviously like having to put myself through the process of reading 21 books in 21 hours was stressful and terrible, and I get really anxious when I'm tired, which is why I don't really do 24-hour challenges anymore, but I pushed through it then, and I'm just so proud of that video. That's why it's like the first video you see when you come to my channel. I'm just super duper proud of it. I thought it was such a good idea, and the fact that I actually went through with it and had like a decent amount of success with that video is just insane to me. I'm really proud of that. Are you happy with your reading stats? Which areas are good and which could you improve on? I think I'm feeling quite meh about my stats. I didn't hit my goal for the year, and I'm not going to hit my goal for the year. I'm like 14 books behind it. My goal was 110 books. I haven't even hit 100 yet, and there's what, a week and a half left of the year, and I have crazy work hours. So I think that's making me feel a bit down about it. Also, did I really read a lot of books that I would enjoy? I don't know if I was choosing good books for me this year. I obviously had quite a good amount of success. We will know properly when I do my top books and worst books. Like that, once I do those videos, I tend to know how the year has gone and how difficult it is to find books for those videos, and put them into a list is kind of how I know, and I haven't done that yet, so I don't know. So I'm feeling really like meh about my reading this year, if I'm honest with you. So one thing that I do really want to fix is that only 2% of my books this year were non-fiction. Non-fiction used to be my primary genre of reading, and now it's down to 2% of the entire year. That's kind of shocking. It's obviously not the worst thing. Like, so what? I wanted to read more fiction this year. I like escapism. I'm not putting myself down for that. I'm just kind of surprised by it, and there definitely are non-fiction books out there that I have on my wish list and do want to read. So it's just going to be about working them back into my reading. I have been getting a craving to read some non-fiction books lately, so hopefully next year I can get that percentage up a little bit higher. They don't have a set percentage goal, but just higher than 2%. However, one thing that I am really happy about is that my LGBTQIA+ was one of my highest categories on Storygraph. I think it was like my third highest category of genre, and that was a goal that I have been working on since I started this channel, was to read more diversely, and I'm really happy to see that like genuinely reflected in my Storygraph charts and like actual stats that they are showing me. But I do feel like I have been much more diverse with reading this year. I also just think that the types of books that have been blowing up on the internet and are being pushed by publishers have been more diverse. I think reading and books in the publishing industry is just moving in the right direction that way, and it's becoming so much easier to read more diversely. Obviously, I'm not saying that it's perfect, more work still needs to be done, but it is getting better. I'm just happy to see those reflected in my stats. There's more I can be doing, more work that needs to be done. I'm not done with it. What is a goal you wish you had focused more time on? So this is kind of what I've been alluding to this whole video, is I feel like I've put so much pressure on myself this year to read a lot by having 110 be my Goodreads goal for the year, and also just there's so many new releases each month, and being on BookTube and Bookstagram, there's a pressure to read them and to read quickly and to read a lot, and anytime I don't read like 10 books a month, I feel like I'm a bad booktuber. And there's just so many books that I don't think I've enjoyed because I've been rushing to finish them, and I don't want to DNF, because if I DNF then I've just wasted a week on a book that won't even count towards my Goodreads goal. And I just feel like it's overall really hampered my enjoyment of books this year and how I approach reading. Next year I am completely taking the pressure off. I am setting my Goodreads goal to like 50 for next year. I am taking my sweet time with books. I'm making sure I'm only reading books that I genuinely think I will enjoy. I'm not going to read books that I don't think I will enjoy just because they fit a video idea anymore, or just because they're blowing up on the internet and I feel like I should read them. Obviously, sometimes you'll read a book you think you'll love and then you don't. That can't be avoided. But I do feel like my main problem this year has just been speed and really feeling like I have to read quickly. And I don't want to do that anymore. I really want to focus on just taking my time and really enjoying my books. Then make a goal you would like to focus on based on your reflections. And I kind of accidentally already answered this one with the last question, but yeah, it's going to be taking my Goodreads goal down, taking the pressure off, not getting so caught up in the numbers and what everyone else is doing, and just enjoying the books that I'm reading, enjoying being on BookTube and putting content out, and just kind of being okay with whatever happens. I don't want to be so wrapped up in how quickly I'm growing or whether people like me enough to subscribe. It's exhausting. I just kind of want to be myself and put my videos out there, and if you subscribe, you subscribe, and if I read a lot, then I read a lot, and if I don't, then I don't, and I just want to go back to enjoying it again. And that's not to say that I'm not enjoying it now. It's been enjoyment with a lot of pressure, and I want to go back to just taking that pressure away, because it's entirely self-inflicted. And it doesn't need to be there. There's enough things to feel stressed about without making your hobbies stressful for yourself as well. So that is my goal for next year, my main goal based on the reflections that I have made. And so there we have my yearly Readflection tag. Rachel, thank you so much for making this tag. I really enjoyed myself, and I do think that we really need this tag in the community. There is like a gap in terms of reflecting on the year. There just isn't that kind of video on the internet, so thank you for making one. Let me know down in the comments whether you're going to do this tag, what your answers to some of the questions would be, how you feel your year has gone, and what some of your favourite books of the year have been. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and we can just have a little chat about some books, because that is the fun of BookTube. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, why not hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I'm really excited about everything. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. Merry Christmas Eve. I can't believe it's Christmas Eve already. I will be working a 12-hour shift whilst you're watching this, but I hope you are having a wonderful Christmas Eve and are looking forward to Christmas Day, and I will see you next week for my next video. Bye guys, have a wonderful Christmas.